Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to a series of videos in which I'm reading you a book. We are reading not just any book, but the good book. This time around, we are reading the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and we are up to chapter 19. The last chapter was Jesus mostly talking with his disciples. It did not contain any of the familiar elements that we saw in Mark and that we started to see in Matthew. And that would be the disciples being really stupid, increasing antagonism between Jesus and the powers that be in Jerusalem, the scribes and chief priests of the temple, and also miracle working, which is all through this gospel. So I think we can expect a return to form in chapter 19. And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are of no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement, and put her away? He saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, Whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marry her which is put away, doth commit adultery. Very important thing here. Seems minor, although it has caused millennia of trouble, because Christianity now has to say, we are people of one book. Well, no, if you're not a people of one book, if the Old Testament conflicts with the New Testament, the Old Testament gives you the measure by which you can divorce a wife. Jesus in the New Testament is saying, no, absolutely not. You cannot divorce a wife or marry a divorced woman. But it's more important than that. Jesus is putting himself, he is changing the law of Moses. That's we blow right over it, but it would have been seismic at the time. His disciples say unto him, If the case of a man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were born so from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. I don't know what he's talking about here. Maybe you do. Then there were brought unto him 3 little children, and he put his hands on them and pray, and the disciples rebuked them. But Jesus said, Suffer the little children, and forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And he laid his hands on them, and departed thence. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good things shall I do, that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is, God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. He saith unto him, Which? And Jesus saith, Thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy mother and thy father, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. The young man saith unto him, All these things I have kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Jesus said unto him, If thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, Verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Jesus beheld them, and said unto them, With men that is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Then answered Peter, and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all, and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit on the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And every one that hath forsaken houses, and brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Uh, so we have a couple of I don't know that you call them problems here, but that is the end of the chapter, and there are definite. Again, I don't know that I want to call them problems, but it's a different matter that you're dealing with if you're talking about exegesis, or if you're talking about church fathers, or church doctrine, or interpretation of some kind or another going back 1,700 years but not 2,000 years, going back 1,600 years but not 1,800 years. It's one thing when you're dealing with the Nicene Creed, or church tradition, or received legacies of one kind or another. It's a very different thing. If you're a Christian, I would think, it would be a very different thing when you're dealing with the words of Jesus Christ himself. There are a whole bunch of subjects on which Jesus is silent, on which he doesn't speak at all. And there are some subjects on which he speaks, and you don't have any idea what the hell he's talking about. I have no idea what that business of eunuchs is. I've read it a million times. I have no idea what it means. It has to be that he's speaking metaphorically. Although eunuchs existed plenty in his day, they don't exist anymore. So if he's giving eternal lessons, then you have to give it an allegorical gloss right away. But aside from the parts that he doesn't speak about, that Jesus doesn't speak about, which is a long list, and apart from the times where he is intentionally being obscure, as he tells his disciples he intends to do, there are times when he is being completely clear, completely unambiguously clear. And I don't want to use the word problem, but there are plenty of Christians who refuse to look at that. They just refuse to. They refuse to say, all right, well, the rest of the stuff is fudge. We can fudge, but not this. Not this at all. We see two of those things in this chapter. Actually, three, if you count the fact that Jesus makes a mistake. He says it, and it is wrong. No one created humans. Humans are not created. They're an evolved species. And that is a matter of uncontrovertible fact. That is absolutely known. It was completely known just through studying Linnaean taxonomy, but now that we know that we can study genetic material, there is no question whatsoever on that subject. That is not, oh, it's just a theory, or that is not, oh, let's not get into specifics, or, oh, that is not, oh, well, we're talking about that far out stuff. No, it's a fact, just like rock and air and the sun, just like gravity and germs, it's a fact. No one made human beings. Human beings evolved. But Jesus, again, might be speaking metaphorically. He might just be saying that process was set in motion, or whether it seems obvious to me that he's not. But if we leave out what looks to me like a simple error, Jesus just doesn't know about evolution, that's all. He just doesn't know about it. He's 2,000 years too early for it. If we leave that out, in this chapter we get two clear pronouncements. And they are not church doctrine. They are Jesus. They're Jesus Christ himself saying it. The one is no divorce. Not for any reason other than fornication. In other words, you can't keep an unclean woman. She has to keep you. If you can fornicate all week long and twice on the weekends, you still has to keep you. But if she goes in for a thrilling bit on the side, you can divorce her for that. Nothing else. No other reason. Not because she wants to, and not because you want to either. And if you find a divorced woman, a woman who's been so-called put aside, you can't marry her either. It's adultery. That is unambiguous. Jesus is completely unambiguous about it. He not only corrects the scribes and Pharisees by saying, the new law, my law, changes the law of Moses, but then he elaborates to his disciples in private and tells them what he means exactly. And they wrote it down. The literary tradition writes it down. That's a big thing. That's as unambiguous as it gets. And the other unambiguous thing in this chapter is going to be very, very bad news to a lot of so-called Christians. And that is the question of wealth. Jesus is saying that the kingdom of heaven, this thing that he is describing, that he has been describing throughout his ministry, it's a place, yes, but it's also an event. Whatever the kingdom of heaven is in his very tantalizing descriptions, it is imminent. It is going to thresh the crops. Good crops will survive and bad ones won't. It's very much an event in addition to a place, this kingdom of heaven. And Jesus makes it clear that money is antithetical to the kingdom of heaven. He makes it as clear as possible. He's not couching it in a parable, although he has. Many of his parables say something along these lines. No, this time he's just saying it outright. And it has been really, really hard for Christians in the ensuing 2,000 years to live by either one of those. It's just, they've just had to ignore them. It's one thing if you as a Christian are ignoring what, I don't even know, Origen says, or Anselm or Augustine. It's one thing if you're ignoring that. I have always found that a little bit troubling, but it's one thing to ignore that. To me, it seems like the game is up if you start to ignore pronouncements that were made in completely unambiguous terms by the Son of God, by your Messiah. If you start to ignore those, you might as well ignore everything. And yet, how many Christians do you know who divorced? And how many Christians do you know who not only are wealthy, but also, if they're not wealthy, yearn after wealth? The number is endless. Absolutely endless. And here you are told in unambiguous terms that those two things are antithetical. Keep in mind, Jesus makes an offer to this rich person in this chapter that he makes to almost no one. Almost no one gets a direct invitation to come and follow me. He doesn't say, take up my cross, or go and do good works, or go and don't tell anybody what I've done for you. He gives him the same invitation he gave to the disciples. What's the difference? The disciples weren't wealthy. And this guy is wealthy. And he can't accept the invitation. And Jesus is right there with the reason why. It's because of his money. That's tough. It's sure it's going to be tough if you're a multi-squillionaire Christian mega pastor like Kenneth Copeland, of course, who's unbelievably wealthy and would not suffer separation from his wealth. It's not that he's unbelievably wealthy by accident. It's that the wealth has been the point. All along, the wealth has been the point. Same thing with the man who anointed him, same with the man who anointed that man. If you went to, Kenneth Copeland is 250 years old, so it's not like he has much to lose anyway, but if you went to him and said, you can keep a ministry, a big, healthy ministry, a church in Dallas or Fort Worth or whatever, where 1,000 people come every week, every Sunday for services all day long, maybe on Saturday, maybe Wednesday night. You can keep an active, wonderful, supportive ministry where you are bringing souls to Christ, but you can't have any money. You can have your keep, but that's it. You can't have any more than that. If God came to Kenneth Copeland absolutely does not believe in God, but if God came to Kenneth Copeland and offered him that bargain, Kenneth Copeland would not hesitate to abandon his faith, to abandon his ministry, and keep his money. He would not hesitate. Not even a fraction. He'd say, nope. Because same thing, I'm not meaning to pick on him, Joyce Meyer, Joel Osteen, all these people that have gigantic mega churches. They have wealth in the tens of millions of dollars. They have multiple houses, multiple planes, multiple yachts, huge staffs. They have a huge amount of money. And they would not part with it. They, in this parable, which they have read this out to their congregations. It just amazes me, the face on them. They have read this parable out to their congregation and then wagged a finger at that congregation and said, don't be that man. Don't refuse a summons from the Lord, when they would refuse it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, they would. And that's the top of the food chain, but it goes all the way down. It goes all the way down to the end. Any of the mealy-mouthed, fake, whited sepulchres, whether it's, well, you name it. You just have to look around in the U.S. Congress to see fake Christians. Ted Cruz infamously claimed on the campaign trail that a man who doesn't start every day on his knees is not fit to govern America. He's not a Christian, doesn't have a single moment of submission to the Lord, and would not give up his wealth. Not at all. Not even consider it. Madison Cawthorn, the disgraced congressman, the booted out congressman, went on and on about the sincerity, the passion of his faith. All he wants is money. All he covets is money. If you could come to him and say, you can have one or the other, like this man is offered a choice by God himself, by Jesus himself in this gospel. If you came to Madison Cawthorn and said, you can have one or the other. In fact, I'll even put my finger on the scale. I won't say it's chance. I'll guarantee you mind-staggering wealth. I'll guarantee you mind-staggering wealth, or I will say give it all away and follow me. Which do you choose? Madison Hawthorne would choose Cawthorne would choose in a minute the wealth. Wouldn't even hesitate. Same thing for his Svengali, a tiny little paleoconservative neo-Nazi named Will Witt. It was the guy filling Madison Cawthorne's pretty little empty head with any kind of political ideas that he ever had. Will Witt made an ostentatious display. Make sure to have a discarded and impregnated ex-girlfriend there to film you being submerged in the water because Jesus is king and he's on his throne. Utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. I don't know who the little scam artist thinks he's fooling, but he must be fooling people. He must think that he's fooling somebody. Listen to him for 5 seconds. All he wants is money. Couldn't care less. At least in this story, which I'm very glad the writer of Matthew gives us as a story rather than a parable. I like to think that this person was real. And I like to think this person was pained. You reach a moment like that, you don't know what you're going to do. When a moment like that comes, maybe this rich person went his whole life saying, well, I am a righteous person. Jesus has boiled down the laws of the Old Testament to a tiny handful. Esteem your neighbor as you do yourself. Be good to your parents. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't kill. Notice in Jesus' version of the so-called Decalogue, there's none of the falderall about I brought you out of the land of Egypt or anything like that. He boils it down to actions. And those actions are indeed the DNA of a moral life. And this person who comes to him, this wealthy person who comes to him, has been doing all of those things all along. He obviously isn't arrogant about it because he still seeks out Jesus and asks him what more he can do. But when he hears it, maybe all his life he was saying, if I ever get to the point where I am told what I need to do, I will do it. But the moment came, he couldn't do it. I often wonder, not to get all Sunday school here, because we're not doing that, right? This is not Sunday school. But I often wonder, for you believing Christians out there, has that moment come yet? I've talked to so many Christians in my life, and I have to say, the ones for whom that moment has come, where they made the right decision, you're presenting me, I can either have everything that I want, or I can jump off a cliff with you. I'm going to jump off a cliff with you. I'm going to trust you to fill my life. I have to say, the Christians that I have known who, when we've talked about this, have had that moment and made that decision, the look in their eyes was unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Just wonderful. Purely wonderful. And they were also the Christians who would literally do anything for you. Literally anything at all. Just a tornado comes through your little Louisiana town. It goes down the street. It swerves left instead of right. It wipes out your house and leaves the rest of the neighborhood untouched. You go to the door of a Christian who has reached that moment and made the wrong decision, the decision the man in this story makes, and you'll be told where the nearest church is who's taking people in. You go to the door, one door over, of the Christian who's reached that moment and made the other decision, and that Christian, without hesitation, will say, come in. All of you, your wife, your kid, come in. We don't have all the room in the world. It'll be a little crowded. You can stay here as long as you want. Tomorrow, I will go and get extra keys made so that you can come and go as you please. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about a thing. We'll make do with the food we have. We'll make do with the room we have. You take as long as you want. Give to everyone who asks of you. That moment came to the disciples, and they instantly decided. Here it comes to someone who's wealthy, and he opts for wealth. It's a vexing subject for, maybe not for the Christians who are listening to me, but for a lot of Christians who are famous as Christians would not give up their wealth. And here, the reason I'm dwelling on it so much is because it's utterly unambiguous. Jesus is making it and divorce utterly unambiguous. If you're a believing Christian, I don't know what you do with those things. But anyway, sorry for the exegesis. We will move on. We'll move on to the next chapter next time, and I will see you then. Thank you, Book 2.